I could hear the pounding in my ears as the cold blood rushed into my frozen lips, dry and cracked from the biting weather which plagued the snow-covered mountaintop. One by one, my family went down the menacing slope, fully aware that the snowstorm would make this our last run of the day. I looked down, not at the slope, but at the cliff beyond the slope. All there seemed to be were trees, far, far below a large drop. What would happen if I fell off the cliff? Surely I would die immediately upon impact with the ground. But did I stand any sort of chance? A strew of voices broke my concentration. "Honey, hurry up. The mountain is going to close at any point, and we need to get off," my mother's voice called in the distance. "Will you hurry up already? What are you even looking at?" Shivers ran through my spine. It was funny. Even when my father was down a slope in the middle of a snowstorm, his voice still managed to seem as if he were standing right next to me. My older brother just stood there, impatiently waiting for me to finally make one more motion in order to exit the mountain. I took one last look at the end of the slope, not at the cliff, but instead at the old disheveled wooden fence, which stood in front of it. It obviously had not been maintained in years, with wood that looked as old as the hills which were behind it. After one final group of prompting remarks by my father, I drew one last breath. I began down the mountain, skiing straight on. It seemed my years of skiing were all completely forgotten in those few seconds. The last thing I remember was the ice screeching underneath my skis, warning me of the danger that was to come. My father was screaming, "Turn, turn, turn!" However, my cracked lips were glued shut from the frosty weather. My only words spoken were through the cold tears which ran past my face as the wind engulfed them in her might. That was the last thing I remember. When I woke up, I was hanging off of a cliff, with half of my body dangling off. All I heard was screaming and my brother crying. As I came to consciousness, I realized that I was stuck in between the fence. Half of my body on the slope, the other half hanging off of the cliff. My head was lodged in between the old fence. The only reason I was conscious was because of the helmet that broke the impact. I immediately felt tugging as my family tried to get me out of the fence's tight grasp. It wouldn't release me just yet, so my father began digging a hole in the snow so my head could be pulled out much more easily. When the hole was finally done, they pulled and I was set free. As I looked up, I noticed my brother still crying and many worried people wondering if I was okay. My parents soon conveyed to me that as I went straight down the icy terrain, I hit my brother straight on, so he broke the direct impact with the fence. My helmet saved me too, as I would have hit the fence directly with my head. If I hit the part of the fence a few feet away, it would have surely cracked with any amount of force. After this experience, I learned not to jump into things too quickly, but instead to know what you're getting yourself into. There were many things that saved my life that day, and I have learned to be grateful to each one.